Mayor,
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
All right, welcome, sir. Whenever you are ready, make yourself comfortable, and we're here to listen.
Okay, agenda item J, public hearings. J1, public hearing to be heard at 7 p.m. to receive a report from staff on the redistricting process and permissible criteria to be considered to review maps recommended by the Redistricting Advisory Committee and submitted draft maps from the public for consideration.
Good evening again. Good to see you. It's been a few months, I think, since the last time we saw each other. I'm going to give you a nice report tonight as where we are with respect to the redistricting process for the city of Merced. As I mentioned, we last saw each other June 21st, where you made the decision to empower an advisory committee to assist with the redistricting process. Since that time, the data were released, the census data, I should say, were released after a delay. I don't know if you're still coming down from that cloud of partying with that census data release on August 12th, but it made absolutely no difference with respect to redistricting or districting, for that matter, in the state of California, because California took the census data and adjusted it based on the inmates in the California prison system, and essentially reallocated those individuals, figuratively, back into the jurisdictions throughout California. So it may have impacted some jurisdictions, and I'm talking about jurisdictions, I'm talking about cities, counties, school districts, health districts, so, et cetera. So we had to wait until when we're looking at the actual census data for essentially September 27th. For many cities like the city of Merced, while we might think that this redistricting process is really compressed, and it is, relatively speaking, if you're in Merced County, your deadline was December 15th. So it was really compressed. So we had some breathing room. We had some opportunities to engage the public. I would like to give a shout out to the city staff who did an outstanding job with respect to outreach. In addition to the support and work of the Redistricting Advisory Committee. The first public hearing was, after its formation, was September 15th. And the intention of the public hearings for the Advisory Committee is to essentially educate the community on the process of redistricting, and also to solicit input with respect to what is your neighborhood, what are the communities of interest in the city of Merced. In addition to those first two public hearings, we held public workshops in this particular chamber. One was during the week and one was on a Saturday, and we received, and you're going to see that, a lot of information on the information with respect to neighborhoods and communities of interest. And that brought us to January 22nd, where the Advisory Committee discussed and recommended to this body 2 draft maps. And you're going to see those. Those were going to be draft maps 107, and draft map 203. So here we are tonight. We're just essentially an informational opportunity on the process. There's no action by council tonight. By law, you must have at least 2 what we call draft map public hearings. So this is the first one. You surely can provide direction to staff and myself with respect to next steps. But we do have another deadline for the public to submit a draft map for consideration, for your consideration. That deadline is February 18. Since the January 22nd Redistricting Advisory Committee's public hearing, where they selected 2 maps to bring to you, there was a map that was submitted by the public for your consideration. However, you're going to see it didn't meet the statutory requirements, i.e. population balance or contiguous districts. So, and there was also one that was submitted after the deadline for this particular public hearing, and that will come before you on that March 7th public hearing. So as folks heard, as a broken record from me throughout this process, we must follow federal laws. And our intention is to create equal population among the 6 districts in the city. Really difficult to do because we have to use census blocks to draw these districts. And I like to say census blocks are kind of like the proverbial snowflake. No two are alike. So, for example, on the west, you might have some really interesting looking census blocks just by the way that the city is crafted. And then along the railroad tracks, you have these really long, skinny census blocks, with nobody living in the census blocks. Up north, you have maybe one huge census block because there might not be very much population, but it's the city-owned land. So we had to use that. Or if you're in downtown, you might have really tiny census blocks. And every time you use these census blocks to try to create equal population, it really shifts the demographics throughout the entire city, but the district that you're trying to create. So that's the number one thing that we have to do. And then we will have to follow the Federal Voting Rights Act. We don't want to have any racial discrimination throughout this process whatsoever. And we also want no racial gerrymandering. So that's federal. Then we shift to California. Under the new Fair Maps Act, we must go in this particular order. We must have our districts that are geographically contiguous. And then we have to look at can, to all extent practical, not to divide neighborhoods or communities of interest. And the same applies for having easily identifiable boundaries. And here, like most cities in the Central Valley, you got, Highway 99 or other highways and railroad tracks and waterways, canals, et cetera. And then we want our districts to be compact. So those were all the things that we were looking at when we're trying to draft maps. And I'm talking about we, I'm using the universal we, members of the community. However, we have to go back to the first most important thing. The districts must be an equal population. The courts will allow a 10% deviation, however. So if we're looking at with the map you adopted back in 2015, or City Council, I didn't mean you personally, the deviation, and you look at the far right-hand side, 3 cells down, 8.53% was the deviation with respect to trying to come up with equal population across the six districts. And the ideal population back then was 13,140, rather. And then we shift to the 2020 census. And I might add, by going through the redistricting process, we have to use census data. When you did the 2015 map, your initial map, you had to use 2010 data. So here we are now in 2020, using 2020 census data, and the ideal population per district obviously increased to 14,447. Now, had that number, the bold number that says 27.54, been less than 10%, we can consider the current districts as one of your draft maps for redistricting, but it's way off the mark. So we have to look at draft maps as we go through this process. So again, a big part, but not the number one part, a big part was asking what is your neighborhoods and communities of interest. We received a lot of information from folks through emails, through the workshops, through the public hearings that the advisory committee held. And these are some that were, and these are our narrowed down. We had a lot of repeats, obviously, for folks who came to one but didn't come to another, et cetera. So we were just tickled that we had so much information. So again, the maps that were submitted to the Redistricting Advisory Committee was 18. I mentioned there was one after, so we had a total of 19. The committee recommended 2. These 8 were not population balanced or not contiguous, so they're not statutorily eligible for, at this point, the advisory committee or yourselves to consider for adoption.
I have a question. Can those maps be moved around to make them like some of the ones that, like 106, when you said wasn't population equal? 106 ain't up there right now.
It's 106 a viable map.
It's a viable map. Okay.
Okay. So these were the ones that, like I said, they're not population balanced or not contiguous and/or. These are the draft maps that came before the Redistricting Advisory Commission. Numbering system is just based on when they came in, et cetera. And these maps are also available to view more intently on the city's redistricting website. There's also an interactive review tool that one could look at each map and really drill down to the house. It's like a Google map They could layer maps on top of each other to see the differences, et cetera. They are labeled. If they are not population balanced or not contiguous, they are labeled, so you won't waste your time in reviewing maps that that should not be under consideration. So here are the maps, again, that we showed to the Redistricting Advisory Commission. Council has this in their packet. These are also, as I mentioned, are on the city's redistricting website. And if I'm going too fast, I know this meeting is being recorded, so folks can watch it, rewind, et cetera. And these are what the advisory committee recommended, map 107 and 203 for consideration. So that concludes my presentation, and yield the presentation or the floor back to the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Any questions at this time? Any questions? No questions? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate your work. Take us on to public comment. Right, Jennifer, you want to start with the voicemails, if that's okay?
Would you like to open the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
We will open the public hearing at this time. And Stephanie?
Mayor, the chair of your redistricting advisory committee would like to speak first if it's pleases the mayor.
That's fine. No, if
He's
you
made
want-
the request as the chair of the
Okay,
committee.
sure. Go ahead, Ryan.
Did we officially open the public hearing?
Public hearing is now open.
I feel badly that was more in the form of a question than it was a request, but I find myself up here now. So thank you for indulging me. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Ryan Heller. I served as chair of the Citizens Redistricting Advisory Committee. I think I speak for all of the committee members when I say that we're grateful to you for the opportunity to have served. The 9-member committee represents the best of Merced's diversity: geographic diversity, ethnic diversity, diversity of income, educational background, and most importantly, diversity of thought. A majority, 5 of the 9 members, including myself, live in the southern half of the city of Merced, which to some degree was by design. That's because the appointment process properly ensured that every neighborhood would have a voice. This group worked hard to encourage, seek out, and heed substantial public testimony. And while we're proud to have worked hard, I can tell you the community worked even harder. We're extremely grateful, and we received very helpful commentary from people like Mr. Hubbard in South Merced, Dr. Walsh at the League of Women Voters, representatives from organizations like CNC and Downtown Neighborhood, and so many others. The recommended maps before you today represent our work to select the best from among the nearly 24 maps submitted by individuals, community organizations, and some from National Demographics Corporation. You'll probably notice that the 2 maps, 107 and 203, are substantially similar to one another, and that is no accident. The committee's findings acknowledged key themes that emerged from nearly all of the public testimony, namely, Bear Creek is the appropriate boundary between the northern and southern 3 districts, that we make our best efforts to respect development patterns and continuity between historic neighborhoods, while also allowing newer subdivisions to effectively advocate for their own unique needs. And most of all, that we pay special attention to communities of interest and traditional neighborhood boundaries. We feel that we did all of the above. We are pleased and proud that both of these maps comport with federal and state statutory requirements, as well as case law precedent. Finally, if you remember nothing else about the work of this politically independent, highly diverse, and committed group of public servants, it should be this. In what may be an unprecedented show of consensus for any city committee, and I've served on others, every single action taken by the Citizens Redistricting Advisory Committee was unanimous. 7-0 in the case of a few meetings where we were absent, and 9-0 for the remainder. Every single action. So for the foregoing reasons, we ask that you give due respect and consideration to the 2 committee recommended maps and choose your preferred option from among maps 107 and 203. Again, thank you for the opportunity to have served, and we appreciate your commitment to prioritizing authentic community needs over late requests from special interests. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heller. In case there are any questions arise later on, would you mind sticking around for a little bit? Head into your voicemails.
Voicemails?
Are there 4 or 6, Jennifer?
We have 5 voicemails, and actually the first 2 that we'll be playing will be in Spanish. We have our Spanish interpreter that will translate once we play it.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council.
Mi nombre es Carlos Vega. Yo vivo en el sur de Merced desde hace 8 años y en mi comunidad hay 3 escuelas, 2 de ellas son diferentes religiones y una es pública. Tenemos también un parque. La mayoría de los residentes en mi área son latinos de clase muy trabajadora y que hablan mayormente español. En mi comunidad también hay un área de casas asignadas para personas que reciben beneficios de la sección 8. Y para mí es muy importante mi comunidad porque quiero verla como otras áreas de Merced y que no tengamos que viajar tanto para poder ir a las tiendas de comida, ropa y otros artículos de primera necesidad. Y también incluso para atender una cita médica o a ir al hospital. Diariamente mi familia pues tiene que viajar más de 1 hora para poder ir a trabajar. Es por eso que me interesa mucho que se tome en cuenta la comunidad en la distribución de distritos. Por estas razones yo apoyo el mapa del número 106 de Merced Forward Together, ya que yo creo que con el aporte y el apoyo de docenas de miembros de la comunidad de Merced que representan a los 6 distritos. Gracias.
Okay, so to represent Carlos Vega. Hello, my name is Carlos Vega. I have lived in the south of Merced for 8 years. In my community, there are 3 schools. 2 of them are of different religions, and 1 is public. We also have a park. Most of the residents in my area are working-class Latinos who speak mostly Spanish. In my community, there is also an area of assigned houses that receive benefits from Section 8. My community is very important to me because I want to see it like other areas of Merced so that we do not have to travel so much to be able to go to grocery stores, shop for food, shop for clothes, and other essential items, and also to have a medical appointment or to go to the hospital. Seriously, my family has to travel over an hour to go to work. That's why I'm very interested in a lot of community consideration in redistricting. For these reasons, I support map 106 of Merced Forward Together. I believe with this with the support of dozens of members of the Merced community representing all 6 districts. Thank you.
Sí, buenas tardes, estimados comisionados. Mi nombre es Lidia Torres. Es importante que mi comunidad permanezca unida y pueda elegir un candidato de su preferencia. Es importante crear distritos que sigan la ley Price Maps para crear mapas equitativos y mantener integras a las comunidades de Internet. Apoyo el mapa 106, el mapa Merced Forward Together, porque crea 3 distritos con un CDAC latino superior al 50%. Prioriza mantener unidas a las comunidades de interés y garantiza un porcentaje menor de desviación de la población. Este mapa también tiene en cuenta el crecimiento actual y futuro de la ciudad en el D6. El mapa Forward se creó con el aporte y el apoyo de docenas de miembros de la comunidad de Merced que representan a los 6 distritos. Por favor, apoye el mapa 106. Gracias.
Good afternoon, dear commissioners. My name is Lidia Torres. It is important that my community stays together and can elect a candidate for the presidency. It is important to create districts that follow the law to create equitable maps and keep communities of interest whole. I support map 106, the Forward Merced map, because it creates 2 districts. It prioritizes keeping communities of interest together and guarantees a smaller percentage of the population. This map also takes into account the current and future growth of the city. The Forward map was created with the support of dozens of community members representing all 6 districts. Please support map 106. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nitina Flores. I've been living in the city of Merced for about 6 years, and I wanted to leave a message in regard to important matter with my community being, my community remain together and be able to elect a candidate of choice for the new mappings of the districts. I think that it is important to create a district map that will follow the Fair Map Act to create equality maps and community of interest for everyone. I support the map 106 that's called the Merced Forward Together map because it creates 3 districts with Latino VIPs over 50%, keep our community of interest as whole, and we would ensure a smaller percentage of population to be divided. And the location of where I'm located, the main street, is in the area of West 24th Street and the T Street. I think it will greatly impact my area because if there's a district changing, it will really affect most families in my area personally for the fact that it will change the school district and the limitations that parents will have regarding where we would have permission to send our children, and it would impact the community for the fact that most residents in my area, for example, are residents that rent homes. Not very much people own their homes, and people have to move closer to other locations depending where the children will be sent due to the new changes to the map. So for this reason, I support the map called Merced Forward Together, and it's number 106. I think that their map has good options of how it's been divided, and it will keep our community to continue to grow and expand for now residents and for future residents for the next 10 years. Due to the next changing, hopefully we can keep it to be positive, and I thank you for your time. All right. Bye.
Dear Commissioners, my name is Yahaira Caraz. I am leaving a public comment for the City Council meeting on February 7, 2022, regarding the redistricting and adopting a new map. My name is Yahaira Caraz, and I've lived in District 5 in the city of Merced for 2 years now. It is important that my community remains whole and that we are able to elect a candidate that really represents us and understands the issues that we face in our communities. This is why it is important to create districts that follow a Fair Map Act by keeping communities of interest whole. I live in front of Rivera Middle School on the streets of San Mateo and R Street. I've noticed that in this area, my community lacks the responsiveness from police that other neighborhoods get. I got my car plate stolen while living here in Merced. In my neighborhood, there is also prominent issues regarding the homelessness and the housing crisis. I support MAP 106 and the Merced Forward Together map because it prioritizes keeping communities of interest whole and would ensure a small percentage of population deviation. This map also keeps into account current and future growth of the city in D6. The Forward Together map is created with input and support from dozens of Merced community members representing all 6 districts. Please support MAP 106. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ariana Marmolejo, and I'm calling in regards to the redistricting hearing tonight on Monday, February 7th at 7 p.m. and I'm calling in support of the Merced Forward Together map, which is map 106. This map was created by the residents of Merced for the residents of Merced. It's excellent because it was created by the real experts, the people who live, struggle, and work to support Merced, which includes regular people and working families, not just affluent or influential business people. I'm calling because I'm particularly concerned about public comments made by Dr. Shane Smith at the January 22nd Redistricting Commission advisory hearing. In his comment, he urged the Commission not to consider the amount of support towards a specific map, but rather the weight of who's speaking. This concerns me because this is the antithesis to democracy. For any one constituent to think that their comments hold more weight than others is preposterous. The purpose of redistricting is so that every single resident gets equal and equitable representation under the law. No one, not even Dr. Shane Smith, gets to take that away from others, no matter how important they think they are. This is explicitly protected by all state and federal laws. I encourage the City Council to listen to every single resident that speaks with equal weight and importance, and to prioritize all community of interest that are on record. If there are elements of map 106 that you'd like to adjust, I encourage the Council to listen to all communities of interest and to do your best to incorporate the elements of map 106 that will uplift these communities and working families. We don't have another 10 years to wait for a better future. For many, this is a matter of access or no access, which in times like these, in a global pandemic and dealing with a crushing housing crisis, this is essentially life or death. Please put in the work to go the extra mile to make the adopted map the best possible option for all residents who have engaged in this process, not just the privileged few. Thank you so much for your time and for your hard work. Have a great night.
Thank you, all the callers. Public comment now?
I have 2 request to speak forms. One's from Diana Odom Gunn and Michael Bell Walmany.
Diana, you're up first. Good evening, welcome.
I hate this thing. Hi, my name is Diana Odom Gunn. I'm a resident of Courthouse Park in downtown Merced, and today I'm representing the Merced Downtown Neighborhood Association. The Downtown Neighborhood Association represents several hundred downtown residents who strongly encourage this committee and this council to respect the unity of our downtown historic neighborhoods. We are a community of interest. Make us whole by keeping us together with a dedicated representative. Our 7 neighborhoods include Ragsdale, Bradley Addition, Muirwood, Applegate Park, Old Town, Courthouse Park, and Spaghetti Acres. Together, we are bounded by Bear Creek to the north, Highway 99 to the south, then west past Bear Creek, past V Street to Bear Creek, and east all the way to Glen. We are the original Merced. Our homes are unique and historically significant. Most are over 100 years old and worthy of protection. All of our neighborhoods identify themselves as downtown and are working with DNA toward honorary historic designation in varying stages. All of these neighborhoods share common needs, interests, and concerns. For example, unlike newer neighborhoods in Merced, our downtown has aging infrastructure that needs maintenance. Unlike newer neighborhoods in Merced, we lack a maintenance district or Melrose. Unlike newer neighborhoods in Merced, we have considerable traffic, cars, bicycles, and pedestrians, which bring us special concerns. Unlike newer neighborhoods, our park strips, bicycle pathways, sidewalks, lighting, street trees, all need maintenance. Our historic parks, such as Applegate and Courthouse Park, are in need of attention. Laura Fountain, most keenly. And unlike newer neighborhoods, we are friendly to different populations, different densities, and different uses. Most of the accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, are in our downtown neighborhoods. Our common interests require a dedicated council member who advocates for our unique needs. Splitting downtown into 2 or more districts undermines our advocacy needs and creates conflicts of interests with newer neighborhoods. The maps recommended by the Advisory Commission retain the integrity of downtown, Both maps 107 and 203 excite us. Maps 204 and maps 205 are also acceptable. Regarding map 106 comments, I'd like to point out that the South Merced representation is essentially the same as the recommended maps. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Serrato, members of the council. My name is Michael Belwomany. As council member in 2015, I participated in the first redistricting. The council voted unanimously to approve boundaries for districts 1, 2, and 3 at that time. And at that time, the railroad line was the dividing line, so we voted on south of the railroad line with one vote, unanimously. And then for the districts to the north of the railroad line, the council vote was split. Councilmember Blake may remember, he and I and Councilmember Lohr voted no against the other 4 council members who voted yes. My concern at that time was that especially the boundary of District 4 was distorted to not be compact, not reflect the neighborhood, and had boundaries that were very difficult to describe to the voting public. This distortion, I think, had occurred because there was a concern on the council that existing members of the council should not have to run against each other in the future election. So they were moving the lines to try and avoid that happening. So I think it's very important that we clean up, especially the districts in North Merced. I recommend approving redistricting map number 203. The reasons I recommend approving it is because the districts are compact, not sprawling, whereas District 4 in map 107, the other map to be considered, is sprawling. The districts generally have easily identifiable and describable boundaries. I support map 203 because of its compactness, more strongly conforms to neighborhoods where the age of the housing is similar, and that is, they were developed at the same time, and the area where people might walk about the neighborhood does not require them crossing a major street. It really does feel like a neighborhood. Map 203 has a lower deviation in population per district than does map 107. And the Downtown Neighborhood Association and other downtown identified people are unified in one district in map 203. And the Merced Community College neighborhood is in one district, in one neighborhood in map 203. And then the neighborhoods surrounding the Merced Mall also are in one district in map 203. I think it's important that we be able to describe boundaries of districts easily, and in this case they are. North of Black Rascal Creek, west of G is District 6, south of Black Rascal Creek, west of G is 5, north of Bear Creek, etc. You can describe every district basically based on 2 streets, north, east, south, or west. It's very compact, they're very easy to describe. I strongly urge you to approve map 203 for the new city council districts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Can I get Mayte Aguilar, Sheng Zhang, and Chrysantima Gallardo?
Good evening, Council. My name is Mayte Aguilar. I live in District 4 of the City of Merced, and I'm here in support of Map 106, the Merced Forward Together map. It is important that my community remains together. It is important to create a district that follows the Fair Maps Act to create equitable maps and keep communities of interest whole. My community is somewhat diverse, from whites, Latinos, and African American families. Merced High School and Luther Burbank Elementary School are a block away from my home. And often I see students and buses pass by, which my toddler enjoys very much. However, we also lack, like any other district, many amenities. Parks being one of them. The Burbank Park that's a couple of minutes from my home walking. It's often full of trash. It's often being misused by homeless as well. And this isn't just my story, it's the stories of many families in my district. The Bear Creek paths are also a couple of blocks away from me. I used to enjoy very much walking in the mornings, but due to the amount of homeless I see in the area, it's becoming really unsafe, and I no longer feel safe to walk those paths. The paths are not clean as well, and the lighting is really, really bad in our Bear Creek area. The truth is that all districts need better, deserve better, and that's what we're here to do. And CNC created the Merced Forward Together map with community input from dozens of residents. We created workshops, took the time to educate families, our hardworking families that don't have the time to be here sometimes. We adjusted our schedules to make sure they were able to meet with us, to share with us their needs, their communities. We spoke to many, many families since we started this process back in September. That's when we started prepping for this. We started having those conversations, inviting residents to meet with our demographer so they can say this street means this to me or this street means that to me. When we say we took input from the community, that's literally what we did. Spend hours calling residents, canvassing as well. And that's why I support Map 106, the Merced Forward Together map, because it creates 3 districts with Latino CVAP over 50%, prioritizing communities of interest of whole, and will ensure smaller percentage of population deviation. This map also takes into account the future growth in other districts and making sure that our community is being represented in all 6 districts. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Were you a part of the redistricting meetings and committee?
I wasn't able to attend all of them, but majority of them, my team and I make sure we always had representation.
But were you a part of the committee?
Yes.
You were. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. All right, next speaker, Jennifer.
Hi, council and community. My name is Crisantema. She, hers, ella, with Power California. Just like Maite mentioned before me, we worked with CNC on the Merced Forward Together starting in September, establishing a coalition, then creating curriculum to really break down to community and to young people what redistricting means, how it's connected to the census, and most importantly, what communities of interest mean, and really taking detailed notes on what we heard from young folks, voters that we talked to across the city, and also their parents and community members. And in these conversations, something that really resonated with me and stood out to me was the fact that young folks and families were saying that they really wanted to ensure that they were able to attend schools in their, near their neighborhood, that they were able to shop in local grocery stores near their neighborhood, and that they were also able to attend, their churches in their own neighborhood. And our map really reflects that. We worked really hard to ensure that COIs for communities of color. I'll remind folks that post-2020 census, 70% of the city of Merced identify as people of color, communities of color. So our map reflects young people, working families. We want to make sure that that you all don't just listen to the, associations or businesses that donate to your political campaigns, but that you actually listen to the constituents, the people that actually live in District 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, because we talked to community members across the city as we developed our map. So with our Forward Together map, we hope that our Black and Brown communities and their interests are kept intact. You'll see in District 5, Logboro area. We made sure that shopping centers were near housing units that are low income, and even we noticed that in that district there were many like multi-generational homeowners that also wanted to have that shopping center within their district. We did our best to balance the population across the districts, and I really hope that you all don't continue. You know, I was part of the redistricting process in 2015 as a community member that lives here, and it was really like sad to see that the council voted with big business, or our small businesses, instead of with community members that kept showing up and voicing their interests for their communities of interest to be kept intact. Thank you all for your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Zhang.
Good evening, council members and audience members. Sheng Zhang with Leadership Council, and I want to express my support, our support for MAP 106 as well, being led by the groups that just spoke. I wanted to come up here and not to just show support for that map, but to say that the two maps that are being considered are, as far as I know, were submitted by the DNA. So you're essentially considering two maps by one group. And I think it would be more fair to look at another map as well, because they're clearly choosing 203 over 107. And I was also around in 2015 when redistricting happened, and it somehow centers the DNA group or the downtown group. I have nothing against them, and love that they rep the downtown neighborhoods hard. But when we talk about downtown, like sometimes what the district shows doesn't, the people in the businesses in the like the east and west ends, they don't even feel like they're part of downtown. But when it comes to redistricting, all of a sudden they want to be kept together. And so I just want to point out that this, even in 2015, they were the center of interest, right, to people. And the community map that was being presented was completely overlooked, not even questioned, and had no room for consideration. And so that has carried on to where the downtown group controls this redistricting process. And it's really unfortunate that we are going along with that. So it is important to be considering a different map than just those two by one group. And it should be looked at, 106 should be looked at. And if it's not perfect right now, you still have time to tweak it so that we can make it more even or fair. And I understand the compactness part, because it does look nice when you can clearly see lines, but there are ways that can still be drawn as well with the 106 map if it's not to your, it's not perfect right now. So I think that it's important to be fair in considering this and making sure that there are actually real options, because the two options that you're getting are essentially the same. So again, one group should not be prioritized, and the whole city of Merced should not be redistricted from that group's opinion, even if South Merced looks similar to what it was before. That wasn't even what the community wanted in 2015. And somehow it's kind of like carried over, and that's just what it's become now. But I think this process needs to be reconsidered so that communities get represented. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Ms. Dietz.
Do we have any additional comments?
We do not know.
So one point of clarification for the council as part of the comment we've received is, at no point during the process did we disclose who had submitted maps. And we do have that. It is a public record. I can show who has submitted the maps if you'd like to see it, but it has never been part of the conversation who has submitted what maps. The anonymity of the map submitters has always remained intact through this process.
Okay. All right. Any other public comment, Jennifer?
We haven't received any more.
All right. Closing the public hearing, bringing it back to council. And again, we're not here to make any...
Mr. Mayor, before you close the public hearing, the chair would like to redirect to the council for comments that he'd heard. It's your discretion. It is a request of the chair.
Yeah, can we wait? Can
Yeah,
we start
we can
council,
wait.
council
If we have-
discussion?
I'll waive. It's fine. Thank you.
He's already had his time.
Yeah, no, if we have questions for you, Ryan will ask.
I have a question.
Hang on one second. Okay. No more public comments. We're closing the public hearing. Back to council. And again, we don't make any decisions tonight. It's not our job. We discuss. We take public comment. We can have some discussion, but the decision's to be made at the next meeting at March 7th. So with that, I think who was first? Kevin, were you first?
No, I have nothing to say. I'll wait till March. I appreciate all the comments. I would just say I think they should remain anonymous.
Okay. We'll go around, or Fernando?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question for Mr. Ryan, and I know that you probably had no leverage in getting the committee members to be up here, but one of the comments you stated was that everything was fair in diversity. I don't think that's a true statement. We're talking about Latinos being up on the committee. Our population, if you know it, is 56.3. Okay, we should have at least 3 or 4 Latinos on the committee. This is a statement that, sir, you have made that I believe is inaccurate. We need to be accurate with our statements, especially concerning diversity. Diversity is something that I cherish and that I honor. We did not have diversity, and I know that is nothing that you did to bring Latinos in our committee, but it's the statement that you made that is inaccurate.
Fernando, we're the ones who appointed the committee, so I think if there's any mistakes.
Thank you, Mayor. My comment was also to respectfully remind the council member that all of the commission appointments were made by the city council.
I
Yeah,
understand
but he also mentioned because it was no fault of his own.
Yes.
That's what he
Yeah.
said.
Hang on. Okay. Kevin, wait.
Well, stay away from attacking others.
Okay,
We'll
now,
get this.
with the comments that we've had from a lot of our audience that had participated in the 2015 redistricting, I can say clearly that I felt that was one of the most unfairest decisions that was made. But now that I have Councilman Ornelas on my side, versus just creating one South Merced district, I recognize his importance. But that was La Palma idea, and that caused a lot of divisions within our community. Now, the statement that we had from another individual concerning houses in the downtown area that are 100 years old. I live in a house in South Merced that was built in 1900. We have many homes in South District 2 that are well over 100 years old. Downtown doesn't have a monopoly on that. Our South District areas were once ranches. On my home, I still have the barn that was made in 1900. So I think that's an inaccurate statement as well. Now, everybody knows that I feel very strongly about map 106, and that's how I feel about it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Why are we working to discredit our speakers? We took the information, and it's up to us to consider and opine on it in March. I think I appreciate everybody's input, and we'll certainly consider it. But I think pointing out discrepancies is just uncalled for.
Yeah, makes a good point. I mean, we should be personalizing things. Different people want different results, fine, but we need to focus on what's in front of us, and we shouldn't be personalizing. We shouldn't be picking this because we like somebody or we like this group. We don't like this group, and we need to be fair to the process. And pick
That's not the point that I made, Mayor. That's not the point that I made. What I'm trying to get is accurate statements.
Okay.
Accurate statements. Okay. Not trying to sugarcoat what the agenda is, okay? Which is basically that the downtown area wants to take control of the mapping, districting, and that's unfair. It's unfair to the Latino community. It's unfair to the people of color community, and that's all I've got to say on that.
Okay. All right. Who's next? Go ahead, Jess. Go.
Thank you. This will be very brief. So I too am grateful. I had the opportunity to sit through a couple meetings with some residents, and they were gracious enough to walk me through kind of their iterations of the map and why they chose those. I've got some more homework to do, and I've got some questions regarding that. And so I do appreciate everyone's interest and everyone commenting and doing the work to be sure that this is done. And so I too will wait till the March meeting to delay.
All right. Who's next? Is there anything for you?
I'm trying to think. Really the only comment I would say tonight is do process of elimination of maps that are here that we absolutely do not want. I don't know if anyone else wants to do that. Or I'm fine with waiting. I mean, we have to wait to the next public hearing regardless, so.
Yeah. Okay. Berth?
I noticed there's a lot of interest to map 106 and some of the comments the presentator made. Is it true that we can tweak some of this to get it into compliance 106?
It was a map submitted by the community. We don't modify community maps because we're staying true to the integrity of the process. If they are interested in submitting an additional map, that can still come before you by March 7th. But we, as staff, don't modify maps that are submitted. Do you want? Right, it is eligible, it is compliant, it is on your list of consideration. It's just not one of the ones that the committee recommended. So it is on what you have in front of you are all of the eligible compliant maps that are viable for your consideration. So we aren't saying there's anything wrong with that, nor do we modify any maps that have been submitted. What you have in front of you, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 202, 203, and 204 meet the criteria for your consideration. All that was simply being recommended tonight is a representation of your committee's recommendation to you. That's all we're doing this evening. That's all the report is. So everything here is viable for your consideration on March 7th, and any new maps submitted up until the deadline would also be vetted through the same process in terms of being contiguous, meeting the deviation boundaries, making sure it meets those minimum criteria that we showed you at the beginning of the PowerPoint. And if it did, it would be considered for your approval as well. And then if it wasn't, we would tell you why, and we'd put it with the list of the maps that were non-compliant.
Okay, thank you.
So this is all a catalog of the work that's been done.
All right. Jesse?
Just a FYI, Sarah, Stephanie, I think you have some feedback in your microphone. I don't know if it's going to impact the people at home trying to listen. It was just a little bit.
Thank you for that. Maybe I'm a little too close. I'll take a step.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, for all the hard work for the committee, that met for a few months to bring to us, these qualified maps. It was really hard to fill those seats. And I'm just going to say it kind of felt like we were settling to fill those seats in some of those positions, right? And so, like I don't believe in coincidences. The fact is, a coincidence when the first time we had redistricting conversations, that DNA was in the center of it, and then it comes out today again that they're at the center of it. With the two nominations that came up, I'm always in favor of the participatory process that 106 shows. In any kind of conversations that we're doing, right? When there's a lot of community input involved, it just feels like things fit better. I'm very excited to have these conversations next month in March. I think centering, the voice of the communities of color, making sure that they're, throughout, equal throughout all the districts should be the focus. Downtown area, specifically the Main Street area, they get things rolled out to them, shiny bows and pretty wrapping paper and things like that, and it's time that that we also put forth that same energy, towards other communities. And I think making sure that we don't split up the Lockboro area needs to make sure that happens. That's all I got. Thanks.
Anybody else? Dan, if I could call you up real quick. I know there's been some couple comments about DNA's involvement in these two maps. I know when Ms. Zhang was speaking, I noticed you shaking your head pretty vigorously.
We did not submit those two maps.
Did not submit.
Not both of them anyway. I don't believe, in my opinion, as an individual, that DNA should be faulted for showing up at every single districting meeting. That's us working hard toward our goals of unity. At no time has DNA ever asserted the boundaries of any other district. We just want to be kept together. Sorry.
No, thank you. Any other questions?
He's afraid to ask
Duly
me.
noted.
No, and also I think the transparency is key. So the identifications of those that submitted maps should be put forth to the public.
All right. Any questions for Diane? All right. Thank you, Dan. Someone's got to call you.
Chrissy, please.
I'll go real quick.
Got to be real quick.
Okay, redistricting.
No, she's got to ask you. Councilman's got to ask you a question.
Okay.
Chrissy, can you tell us what you want to say?
Yes, I sure can. I just want to reiterate the fact that during one of the voice messages that was called in, a community member raised a concern, right? We've been present at the redistricting commission meetings, giving input, right? And we've had folks call in and literally make negative statements about young people being involved in this process. It's a shame when a community is not supportive of young people that live here, that are going to be our future city council members, business owners, right? And to say that the amount of public comments don't matter because city council must listen to the weight of a comment. So what, because someone owns a business in downtown, what they say is gonna matter more than what someone else says? Absolutely not, right? Like, that's not how democracy works. And then, Mr. Mayor, I kind of wanted you to censor the person that spoke before me, because 2 city council meetings ago, when someone said, fuck, you were trying to censor everybody and talking about
you got to stop right now. Now you've gone on
respectability
too far.
politics.
You're done. I'm shutting
There's
you
a
off.
white
I'm shutting
woman,
you off.
white privilege, hitting this and talking.
All right, we're recessing the meeting. We're stopping now. All right, we're taking 5 minutes. We'll take a 5-minute recess. 2. Public hearing is closed, and back to council for any additional comment on the, yeah, it's been closed already. Go ahead, Jesse.
I have a question that maybe the city manager could answer. During it, I don't know how many years ago when we first did the districting, the names of the maps, were they names or were they numbers? And were the identities of the people who submitted it public?
In the previous process, the council did allow for names. In this process, we have protected the anonymity of submitters, but if the council directs us to disclose, in our next presentation, we will include the first initial last name at the council's direction.
I move to disclose the names of who submitted them.
I second that.
Okay, motion from Councilmember Perez, second for Echeverria to disclose the names of who submitted the maps.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Perez and a second by Councilmember Echeverria. With a roll call vote, Councilmember Ornelas, how do you vote?
Yes.
Echeverria?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Boyle?
No.
Shelton?
No.
Blake?
Not relevant, no.
And Mayor Serrato?
No.
And the motion fails.
Any further discussion or comment before we continue the item to March 7th?
Let's bring it on in March 7th. Let's go.
I did have one last question for Chrisella, but if you don't want her to, if we just not use the F word, could I ask you a question, please?
You can hang on. You can ask her a question. It's got to be a specific question, and the response needs to be as brief as possible.
Yes.
Okay.
Would you don't feel comfortable?
Okay. You have to. We have people watching. There's an audience. There's a record. So. I take no offense whatsoever.
Our mayor's really good at that. We can have a heated conversation when we go back in the break room. We're all friends. I was in the bathroom with Kevin, and there's no hard feelings.
Don't. That's it.
So. The question is, when you were out canvassing, because I know you came in District 2 and you were doing some walking, what were the energy and the feelings with the young generation that you were working with? Were they for map 106 or you didn't have any idea of that? What were they for, keeping 1, 2, and 3 together, or I mean separate but in the same boundaries?
When we canvassed District 2, this was September, October, November, we hadn't created our map yet, but we were getting input from voters in D2, D6 were our priority areas. And we heard the issues, right? 1, housing. 2, youth investment. 3, support for undocumented Mercedians. And then 4, beautification. How do we create murals in this side of town? Let's invest in sidewalks like we do in downtown. So we heard more of like the issues and what young people cared about. And yes, when I talked to voters, our team was phone banking, calling voters across the valley, across the city of Merced. Folks, we identified thousands of voters that said, yes, I want to be involved in the redistricting process. And they actually came out to our community workshop that we hosted after phone banking voters. We hosted a workshop with CNC where these voters came, learned about COIs, and they gave input as to what neighborhoods they live in and what communities they consider themselves a part of and how they want the map to be drawn. And so that's included in this map that we submitted.
So you had the support of our youth, which is going to replace my old ass one day and be elected. You had the support of the majority of them.
Yes, the young people that were involved in the process, and not just youth, I'll say like voters of all ages across the city of Merced.
Okay, thank you.
Chrissy, I actually had a question. Chrissy, if I could, I had a question for you. Just looking at hypothetically comparing 106 to 103, looking at the demographics, the racial breakdown, everything, it seems like they're essentially identical in that way. And I was kind of scratching my head as 106 just seems to draw a lot messier boundaries than 203, but other than that, it seems to be essentially the same in most. What's unique about 106? Why are you advocating for it? Why does it fulfill these goals?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to forward you like our detailed explanation, district by district. Delray, I know that we had, our team had a chance to share that with you. Again, we're prioritizing what we heard from young people and working families across the city. So I'll forward that to you tomorrow morning so you can take a look, right? But our lines are drawn in a way where young folks and families can go to school, shop at, shopping centers nearby, and also what was really important was attend their place of worship. And that we did our best to keep everything intact. So I'll send that to you. And it breaks down literally every single district with key landmarks as well, so that you can know exactly what we name.
Okay. All right. I'll wait.
And one last thing as well. Rest assured, I've been working in District 2 to get us a shopping center, and with the help of our economic director, Frank Quintero, we're accomplishing that. We're going to have a shopping center on Canal.
We got to stay on top of it.
Childs.
All right. Okay. Anything else? All right. See you March 7th. Showtime. J2.
Okay, agenda item J2, public hearing and potential introduction of ordinance to update the city's public facilities financing plan and impact fee program, and adoption of a resolution amending the administrative policy implementing the fees.
Okay. Good evening, Kim.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight is the public hearing. We had a